So, we got this.
How did you get out there?
Fire escape.
It's 20 stories.
Your doorman's intimidating.
When we could have got more of this.
Pizza time.
You want to get some chow mein?
Now dig on this.
Before Sony decided to reboot the Spider-Man franchise, we were getting Spider-Man 4. This would have seen Tobey Maguire return to play the titular character, with Sam Raimi set to direct. This video will look into what the film could have been. After the release of Spider-Man 3, fans seemed somewhat let down. Both Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 are considered some of the greatest comic book movies we have had to date, especially early on before comic book movies dominated the market. Spider-Man 1 grossed $825 million back in 2002, Spider-Man 2 went on to gross $790 million in 2004, and then Spider-Man 3 grossed $890 million in 2007. The franchise was making money and there was no real reason to slow down. The creative team and cast from the series were all set to return for Spider-Man 4. There was even a suggestion that Sony would kick off a new trilogy of Spider-Man films that was potentially to be shot back to back. This was going on back in 2010 for a 2011 release date. Back then, the Marvel Cinematic Universe hadn't really taken off yet. At this point, comic book movie franchises would halt after a trilogy, and Spider-Man 4 was set to be the first of its kind. Despite the financial success of the Spider-Man series, some people were disappointed with Spider-Man 3. One person being director Sam Raimi. He said the following: "I was very unhappy with Spider-Man 3, and I wanted to make Spider-Man 4 to end on a very high note, the best Spider-Man of them all, but I couldn't get the script together in time due to my own failings." Due to Raimi failing to get the script he wanted to shoot ready in time, Sony looked at a reboot. Raimi's Spider-Man 4 was originally set for a May 2011 release date. When that fell through, a reboot helmed by Mark Webb was set for release in July 2012. It appears that the split between Sony and Sam Raimi was amicable. Raimi wasn't happy with how the script was going and only wanted to commit to the project if he felt he could really make it better than the last films. There has been some concept art released for the Spider-Man 4 movie, which featured Vulture and Mysterio along with Spider-Man, which you can see on screen now. It appears that at the time, only Tobey Maguire had signed on to the project officially before it got scrapped, with other actors set to return if it had have gone ahead. None of the regulars had signed on to return for the sequel officially. Despite this, if the film had gone ahead, we could have expected to see a return of Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane, J.K. Simmons returning as J. Jonah Jameson, and Rosemary Harris returning as Aunt May. There's also the potential that we could have seen the return of characters introduced in Spider-Man 3, such as Bryce Dallas Howard's Gwen Stacy and James Cromwell's Captain Stacy. There were two other additions to the cast for the villains of Spider-Man 4, which I'll get to in a minute. Bruce Campbell, longtime collaborator with director Sam Raimi, was said to have taken the role of Mysterio in the movie. Campbell's role was reported to be a small cameo as the character. Concept art shows Mysterio being arrested by the police and taken into custody by Spider-Man. This was set to be one of the opening scenes. Mysterio wouldn't have a larger role in the film other than this. Campbell has stated he was never actually considered for the role, and the conversation between him and Raimi never happened.
So Sam Raimi has been talking about the Spider-Man 4 movie.
He sure has, hasn't he? Yeah.
And you are gonna be...
You say that. You say that like,
You were
like
gonna
it
be.
became a fact. You were gonna be this.
You were gonna be. But it didn't
According
happen,
to who?
man.
According to bullshit you read on the World Wide Web of bullshit. No, that was a fanboy thing that started. Do you know Sam Raimi never sent like an email or a phone call saying, "Hey Bruce, prepping Spider-Man 4.
Yeah.
What do you think about Mysterio?" That conversation never happened. So there's no way I could jump on board that and answer your what if question.
Had the film gone ahead though, Campbell more than likely would have had a role, but it may not have been Mysterio. However, there seems to be a strong consensus that he was up for the role, despite the actor's claims. John Malkovich had been cast as Vulture. There was talk of Vulture appearing in Spider-Man 3, or at least Adrian Toomes appearing. It was said that he was going to be Flint Marko's cellmate in prison, presumably just a cameo. During the DVD commentary, actor Thomas Hayden Church, who plays Flint Marko, aka Sandman, revealed that they looked at Ben Kingsley or Ralph Fiennes for this role. Ultimately though, neither of these actors joined the cast of Spider-Man 4 in the role of Vulture. John Malkovich took the role instead. Anne Hathaway had been cast as Felicia Hardy, however she was not going to be portraying Black Cat. Her character was called Vulturous and was said to be assistant to Vulture. I don't really know why they would have Felicia Hardy appear in the film and not be Black Cat. It is quite possible that this was just to throw people off and she would in fact play Black Cat. There also appeared to be a push for Sony to have Dylan Baker appear as the Lizard. He had featured in both Spider-Man 2 and 3 as Kirk Connors and had yet to appear as the villainous alter ego. When Sony rebooted the franchise with The Amazing Spider-Man, they used the Lizard as their first villain and recast the role. Risa Fans played this role in The Amazing Spider-Man. Unfortunately, from what we have seen, Spider-Man 4 may have suffered from having too many villains like its predecessor. Raimi had made it clear that he wasn't interested in the villain Venom, and he was forced to include him in Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 4 looked to have 4 villains appearing this time round: Vulture, Lizard, Mysterio, and Vulturous. Spider-Man 4 never got made, and since the end of the Raimi franchise, we have had 2 more live-action Spider-Men. First Andrew Garfield, and then Tom Holland. I will point out there is a slight chance that we could see Tobey Maguire return. Sam Raimi is now set to helm the Doctor Strange sequel titled Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. This is after its original director, Scott Derrickson, dropped out due to creative differences. Fans are hoping we could see the Doctor Strange sequel connect to the original Spider-Man movies, and maybe we could see the return of Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. This is simply because of a reference put into Spider-Man 2, which name drops Doctor Strange. Here's the clip.
Hoffman!
Yeah?
What are we gonna call this guy?
Dr. Octopus.
That's crap.
Science Squid?
Crap.
Doctor Strange.
That's pretty good. But it's taken. Wait, I got it. Dr. Octopus.
But I like it.
Of course you do. Dr. Octopus. New villain in town. Doc Ock.
Genius.
So Spider-Man 4 will likely never see the light of day. It remains another unmade movie. What other unmade movies would you like to see me discuss? Let me know in the comments. Please give this video a like and subscribe and click the bell icon if you haven't already. Thanks for tuning in.